started with tennis grips. It's like I have a tennis background, played college tennis, like just still love tennis to this day. Like I had a 9 to 5 job in digital marketing type of thing. How do I get out of that world? How do I, make money online? But I kind of got to the point of like, okay, I'm selling $7 tennis grips, I make $2 a grip. Like, how do I scale this? Like I have to sell 10,000 grips to make a living, to take my status to the next level. We launched with basketballs, soccer balls, and volleyballs. Basketballs had extreme success launching. We did our first month, we did about $23,000 on Amazon.
It seems like from now you've taken the next jump to launch a full brand of sports products. Is that right? I'd love to hear a little bit about that journey, how that all came about, and how exactly that came.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, I started with tennis grips. It's like I have a tennis background, played college tennis, like just still love tennis to this day. And so I really, I wanted to find a way how to make a little more passive income, how to, create more income in my world. Like I had a 9 to 5 job in digital marketing type of thing. So I was like, how do I get out of that world? How do I, make money online? How do I kind of create a brand? And like, content is king, but like having your own brand, like also you see all these influencers nowadays, they get this big following, and then for what? Maybe they do a brand deal here and there, but now they're all starting to create their own product, their own brand. And, I maybe reverse roles there. Like I could have created a little more like influencer brand and then started products, but I kind of started products and then started doing content around that. But yeah, to your point, it was good. I was, we would do summer months were much better for tennis, obviously, than winter months. We were a little bit seasonal in there. And so we were, making, I would do anywhere from kind of $500 to $4,000 of sales. So, profits could be anywhere from $200 to $2,000 of profits. So kind of just depends. Sometimes it would cover rent, which was awesome. And sometimes, it covered my club dues and kind of going out for my tennis club.
Nice.
So that was amazing. But I kind of got to the point of like, okay, I'm selling $7 tennis grips, I make $2 a grip. Like, how do I, scale this? Like I have to sell 10,000 grips to make, a living, to take my status to the next level. Like, there's not, maybe Wilson is selling 20,000 grips across all platforms, not just on Amazon though, and all the different stores they're in. They're pro athletes. Like, so I was like, that's not where I want to be. So I started thinking about other products. As I kind of now gotten older, I moved more towards a plant-based diet. I got more into sustainability. Those types of things really became more important in my world. And I got more into, I played, high school basketball. My brothers were basketball players. My dad was a basketball player. Like basketball was our family sport, which kind of got a little burnt out on, but like now I love it back again. And so like I was playing adult basketball, adult baseball, like football on the beach, all these different sports. And I was thinking about, those products of either they use an animal leather, which I wasn't about, or they use like a PVC plastic, super, I don't know if I'm allowed to swear on here, but like a super shitty material that just sits in landfills for hundreds of years, and let alone it's chemically intensive, yada, yada. And so I was like, there's kind of an interesting play of combines my two passions of sustainability and sports here. And there was nothing in the marketplace with, an eco-friendly basketball, like a vegan basketball type of thing. And so I already knew that I could sell on Amazon. I could sell on Shopify. Like I knew I could do those things. So why don't I take a product that now we're selling a $40 basketball, $30 soccer. So now I've just kind of upped it from $2 a profit to, let's just say $10, $15 a profit. So now if I sell the same, if I sell 500 balls at $10 of profit is now $5,000. I'm like, okay, we're making a living now. Like it's awesome. And so kind of a long story short though, we launched with basketballs, soccer balls, and volleyballs. The basketballs had extreme success launching. We did our first month, we did about $23,000 on Amazon.
Wow.
Of
Okay.
revenue. So, but with that said, don't get too excited on the story. It all comes crashing down. And again, this was a good story of what happened with Travis as well. As Amazon really pushed my listing, and
Mhm.
people were willing to give us a try. And so, and we had really kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Some people loved the basketball and some people didn't like the basketball.
Right.
And so, that it went really well, but then kind of just like day by day, we kind of dropped from, we were in that like an indoor basketballs, which was a big keyword section, kind of started dropping. And now we're, we kind of teeter on the first page and the second page. And so like when we're on the second page, sales really decreased. So now we're kind of around like $5,000 a month in revenue, which has been kind of our steady last couple months. Like that's more where we're at. And now I'm trying to figure out how to get off of that. But like the first couple months we were booming, and like I got excited. We launched a football, we launched a pickleball paddle. And so now we have 5 products, really 4 products that our volleyballs, again, like we're always trying to continue to improve our ball. And one of the things I wanted to do was create a high performance sustainable product, because when you hear eco-friendly or vegan, like vegan cheeses or vegan milks, like they don't hit the same way that the alternative does. But with that said, like with the way technology is growing, and like me being on a plant-based diet for the last 5 years, like there are now cheeses that are incredible that taste the exact same, but 5 years ago they were horrible. And so that's the same way I felt with like these balls. Like, yes, we're not using a real leather, but like technology is so much better. We are so close to like, perfection with it, and we can continue to grow. Like you're stuck using the same leather for the rest of your life. Like the cow's not going to change forever, but like we can start innovating with, different types of plant leathers, of cactus leather, mushroom leather, all these cool different things. Whereas like, so that's where I'm super excited for. That's my super long-winded answer of where we're at now. Of where, we're doing well on Amazon and Shopify. We're getting into schools and camps and those types of things. So we've also been able to expand in that way as well.
That's incredibly cool what you've been able to do with that. Let me take you back a minute there.
Okay.
So you had this idea. You've been selling on Amazon, selling the 10 scripts, and you have this idea for this big project you want to do. It sounds like a bit of passion behind it to make a product that's eco-friendly. I know with your past tennis products before, and with a lot of cases, it's just a matter of getting connected with a supplier overseas, figuring out getting the product. It sounds like with this product, I mean, trying to make it eco-friendly, trying to get the performance right. There's a bit more development that went on there to make this happen. Could you tell me a bit about how you managed to make this happen and connect these pieces?
Yeah, so much more development. And so like I think of myself as we lost in the quarterfinals of state for basketball. So like I'm a very capable basketball player. That's not my end all be all. Like tennis, I played at a super high level. I'm now a professional pickleball player. So like those two sports, I say I have more credibility than anybody in the world. Basketball, I'm very capable, but I also had a dad that played college basketball. I have friends that played, Division I, that played semi-pro. So I was able to like lean on some of these people from, a product testing. But what I was able to do, since I've had these connections with, getting tennis grips and stuff like that overseas, I was able to find suppliers that, hey, I need this eco-friendly material to go on your ball. So I found, a supplier that could already make basketballs, footballs, and soccer balls. And I was like, listen, I need you to try this leather, make it, pebbled like a basketball, like a football, like a soccer ball. And, we sampled 50 different balls from 5 different suppliers. And, we just kind of came together with one that we really liked. And you've heard these types of stories. But we found a basketball that we loved and thought was like, great, this can compete with any of the best basketballs in the world. We ordered bulk, and the product we got was drastically different than, what we were sampled. So that also set us back, a ton. That we ordered a couple thousand basketballs, and now we're kind of stuck with a product that was fine, but not what we loved and envisioned. So, we had to keep, working with the supplier. I ended up actually changing suppliers. And so now we're kind of on like our 3rd model of our basketball, which even more happy with, and
Nice.
now we're in consistency. I've ordered with a supplier 4 different times. The basketball is great and amazing and eco-friendly. So yeah, that process was tough, especially when the first order wasn't perfect. Also, again, like I said, my basketball is capable, but my soccer and my volleyball are weak. And so again, had to rely on, other athletic friends for that. Soccer balls we're super happy with those came out with. The volleyballs were a little subpar. And when we get professional volleyballs that players that come in and say, hey, this is slightly different than what we usually play with, we kind of like, okay, we'll take this feedback, and we kind of keep trying to to grow on that. And so,
It's a process. Yeah.
exactly. And we're always still trying to grow, but we also have the slight limitation of using the eco-friendly materials. And so, right now with what we've been able to use, the best materials are like a microfiber, either a leather, which I was never going to go down a leather path. That was always out of question. But then the microfiber, which is quote unquote vegan, but it's still microplastic, meaning when it breaks down, like it will break down into microplastics that get into our water, our food, all these different things. Also, it has the BPAs, the phthalates, the lead, the like those toxic chemicals like that, as someone it's in your hand all the time, you're sweating and you're dealing with those types of things. And so I didn't want to go down that path. So our material is just a little bit harder to create the perfect texture that we've had to, do a lot of R&D and testing on that.
How long of a testing process and development process has it been so far?
Yeah, I mean, well, since we launched EcoSports, so I pivoted. I was taking sports, which was just Troy Aiken, but I wanted to hit a little more something nail on the head. So we switched to EcoSports. And so we tested basketballs for probably about 4 months before we finally launched that, and soccer balls when we launched those together. But it's still been an ongoing process. If we're on a year and a half of being live, and we're on our 3rd basketball, so a year and a half of the year and 9 months of testing basketballs now.
Wow.
So yeah, it's been quite the process. But again, it's great because then it means, when I get a new basketball, we had a bamboo leather basketball come in the other day, and I get to go to the park and play basketball for an hour and put videos and that type of stuff. So it's great.
Yeah, no, that's great. On that same kind of line there. So once again, you started out with some products on Amazon, not too much of a full brand around it, and have gone on to build EcoSports, which sounds like goes well beyond Amazon. You mentioned that you have a Shopify store now. You mentioned you've been working with some kids in camps and schools and that sort of thing. How has that process been, expanding from just being an Amazon product brand to being a full encompassing brand? Did that come naturally, or what were the points in that?
No, that is actually really tough because the schools and kind of camps and those things are a lot of cold calling, which I am terrible at. Kind of in my past life, I got my real estate license, did that for 2 years, but it was a lot of cold calling and door knocking. And just hated that. I liked the online marketing aspect of that. So I ended up getting into digital marketing for my full-time job that I was doing with the tennis grips. But now that I am cold calling and emailing and running a Shopify business and, packaging balls all day long, I now do EcoSports full time, which has also been a blessing. But at the same time, it is, some months are stressful on revenue now that it's fully coming out of that. And when, we've had some slow months that I got to figure some things out. And then we've had some good months where I get excited that oh my God, we're going to be a $10 million brand. And then I get humbled the next month. So yeah, that's been a process. It is a lot, wearing 20 different hats. And, I've tried to hire some kind of virtual assistants, and, they are good for a couple weeks and then then it doesn't kind of pan out. And so, it's kind of work trying to bring on these people. And it's just we've had some potential investors that I've been really excited about that don't go anywhere. I've had some family and friends that are really, that love the idea and want to get involved, but I don't want to mix, too much business with family. And I don't want to see them on the holidays and EcoSports crashed and I'm responsible. And now it's awkward. So, there's a lot of highs and lows and hats to wear, and that's
Yeah. But that's very cool to hear that from building a brand. I mean, you're doing it full time now, and that's sounds like a big jump from where you were with Amazon. So, kind of on that note, I imagine with the brand, there's a whole lot of things you get out of it. The fulfillment of being able to do something that you're passionate about, support the environment through the products you're making, seems like driven very deeply from a passion. Apart from the passion, obviously, you mentioned before when you started on Amazon, the amount you're selling, the amount of profit you're making, and that seemed to be a big desire was to increase that. What have the numbers looked like overall? Is it still a lot of like reinvestment into the business, or are you seeing the results from that pay off?
Yeah, I would say it's a lot of reinvestment into
Sure.
the business. And I live in Los Angeles, rent's expensive, my life's expensive. I've also been touring on the pickleball world where there's not a lot of money, but we now launched a pickleball paddle that, is made out of a flax fiber that I'm super excited for. So I've kind of been able to put a product in that place. And so I would say it's definitely a lot of reinvestment. I've had a very big love-hate relationship with Amazon ads. It's pretty amazing how much they have made me like, I don't know, like break even almost with them.
Yeah.
Like there, some days I make $200 on the advertising stuff, and then some days I'm down. I just spent $100 and only sold $50 of balls. Like how like it's been really impossible. And when I look at the numbers over like the last years, like my Amazon ads is like break even maybe ish. And so I've almost really just cut back on Amazon spending because they almost know of like, here's what their break even cost is, and so let's get them sales accordingly. So I'm not saying that's true, but it's just like that's how I've felt. And I've talked to some other people on Amazon ads, and like I also think like it'd be a little different if I had a little more brand recognition to myself. But like I have to, when I bring someone over with a click that are super expensive now, it's way more expensive than what grips were, but also like what even a year ago, like ads are just more expensive now. Like it used to be $1.50 a click, now it's like $2.50, $3 a click. So I only have like 5 clicks to convert a customer. So like I need to convert 20% of my clicks over, and that's tough on any brand there. So I've tried to reinvest. So I think more to answer your question, I'm trying to reinvest on content, on videos, on those types of things. So we're kind of trying to rebrand and to be a little more performance based and premium based instead of kind of this like eco-friendly hippy dippy like granola eating basketball, which like is something I love and I'm passionate about. But I also think we have an amazing product, and it gets sometimes pushed to the back burner because I've been pushing the sustainability aspect so much. Like, what if we have this amazing product that like once you get it and receive it, and it's like, oh, that's cool that it's also sustainable. Like, I think that's more of the path we are looking to go down now.
Cool. Yeah, that's very cool, and I mean, makes sense to follow the numbers in that aspect. So on that note, are still like the majority of your sales being driven through Amazon, or have you started to notice some from these other platforms, whether it's physical retail or Shopify?
Yeah, I would say it's still majority Amazon, and I don't really expect that to ever go away with just how big Amazon is. I don't quote me on this number, but I read like 50% of people shop on Amazon. So like they take an arm and a leg with the advertising, with the referral fee, with those things. But if you think of it like a storefront, especially with me here in Los Angeles, I'm trying to think of what it would cost for brick and mortar, like probably $15,000 a month for like a crappy little brick and mortar place. So that's where like I think Amazon does have its wins. The 2-day shipping is wins because my Shopify account, website, I can't do 2-day shipping with that. Like even if we were kind of willing to pay for it, it's still sometimes hard. And if I'm away at a pickleball tournament or something, I can fulfill an order through Amazon, which is incredible. Like that's a really cool feature too. I think it's an underrated feature.
Totally. Yeah, no, it makes sense. I mean, Amazon is so many customers already searching there. It's just gonna really provide you an easy way to access them, especially with a business like the one you're running.
Yeah.
So
Good.
no, you can go ahead. It's good.
Just one more thing of like, yeah, I would like, because when I do sell on Shopify, like I do get much more information of you know, an email, an address, like, you know, those things that are easy to more retarget with Facebook ads, like, you know, obviously doing camps and retail and schools, like, you know, they buy 20 balls at a time, which also allows me to give them a discount, which is great and saves on shipping fees. So I'm trying to grow outside of Amazon, but I don't want to ever, you know, just give up on Amazon. But yes, I see much value in encompassing, in diversifying where sales come from.
Nice. Yeah, no, makes sense. To have that diverse of things, especially over you mentioning how Amazon with increased competition and PPC and all those things on the rise. So one question for you is, so this journey you've been on from taking these first couple products and building a whole brand around it, what would be your biggest advice for someone going out doing something similar, building a passion brand around a product?
Yeah, you beat me to it there, because I know Travis is just massive on the passion formula. And like, you know, I took his course a couple years ago and like loved it, and you know, he's been helpful on a lot of the things in my journey of getting started and kind of transitioning as well. Because he's the master of, like, he's got a product that does really well, but then he also diversifies on, you know, he does privates on one-on-one. He has YouTube channels, like, so he diversifies where income's coming in. But he also, like, he loves helping other sellers. It's what he loves to do. And so what was the question?
Just your biggest advice for someone going through a journey.
Yeah, so that's where, like, I it's so easy for me, like, especially with these pickleball paddles, and like I'm out there playing 4 or 5 days a week, like it is just so easy for me to talk about it and sell a paddle, because I love the product, I love what I'm doing. And like the basketballs, I love selling those. The footballs, I love selling those. But when it gets to, like, the volleyballs that I'm not as big of a fan of, like, I just kind of, you know, it's like hard to sell something that you're not passionate about. And like, you know, my brother's in tech sales for cybersecurity, but like he genuinely believes like this is going to save your company from like any, like it's the greatest value that you can add to your, you know, threat of attack. Like he is so passionate about it, and he does really well because he believes in the product so much. And so I think, like, you know, the tennis grips, my tennis grips were awesome. They were as good as any tennis grip in the world, but like I'm not that passionate about a tennis grip, like, you know, so how do you find something that you can sell and market, but B, you just believe in more than anything in the world? Because like you're your greatest salesman. Like, again, I've tried to work with kind of salespeople or marketing team, and like nobody can sell more or better than I can about the product. Yeah,
that's good advice, to have a passion behind what you're selling, and then you'll be able to actually vouch for what you're doing and be passionate about it, and just it's going to carry over to the results. That's great advice. Cool. Well, that really sounds like a great journey. I know. I mean, that's all great. It was great getting to hear about where you've been going. So I guess one more question is, like, what's next? Like, what's the next steps for your business? What is like your big goal to hit in the upcoming year?
Yeah, I'd say that the upcoming year is to get into more big box retail. So we're in a couple like mom and pop stores and like some schools that have, you know, storefronts at their schools type of thing. But I think like a Dick's Sporting Goods is the pinnacle, obviously. But you know, something, you know, a Big Five, a Sports Authority, a Dick's Sporting Goods, like those things would be the dream. And I think, you know, we're close, and we clearly have market demand for our product. And so trying to figure out how to get in there with the right packaging, the right messaging, the right pricing is all things we need to figure out. And like, again, we don't want to compete with a $12, you know, PVC plastic ball. Like, we want to compete with the best balls on the market. And so that's just kind of a tricky little way to finagle in there. And then I'd just say our biggest goal is the Olympics are in LA in 2028. Right. We'd love to figure out how to be a sponsor or get our balls, like, as, you know, a used ball in there. So that's kind of a bigger goal of ours.
I mean, Olympics, that'd be very cool to see.
That's the dream.
You got a few years to make that happen.
Exactly.
Cool. Well, that's all I have for you today. That was very cool to hear about your story, where it's been and where you guys are heading. Especially seeing how it was going a few years ago with the tennis grips and what it's all turned into.
Yeah, I know it's been quite the journey. So I'm looking forward to, you know, catching up with Travis and hearing all that type of stuff. But yeah, it's been a blessing to be able to work in sports and sustainability, and like the people that I've been able to meet of both athletes and, you know, people that care so much about the planet. Like those are the people I want to surround myself with.
Nice. Totally. Yeah, I love it. Great. Cool. All right. Well, I appreciate you taking the time, and yeah, we'll be in touch.
Yeah, great to meet you, Connor.